Hello Pisces, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at what you were dealing with in 2024, where you're at right now, and what you need to know and expect in 2025. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone, so do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Pisces, let's jump on in here. We're going to start with looking at overall energy through the oracle cards, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into the story with tarot as we progress in the reading. So let's start here with your overall energy for 2024. What you guys are dealing with, what you need to know about it, just whatever needs to come through. Conclusions are within reach. So I feel, and then don't let your past hold you back. So there were things coming to an end. I feel like that's what 2024 was about to you. Maybe closing out old cycles, old patterns, old behaviors, and stepping into or beginning the process of stepping into a new beginning. Now, this don't let your past hold you back card is very much about allowing this new beginning to take place. I think a lot of times when cycles are ending, especially if that comes with the ending of relationships or of almost like a different version of us, it can be really hard to kind of let go and let that change happen because there's so much unknown associated with it. And I feel like for anybody, you know, any kind of change like that, any kind of ending, though it's exciting to think that there can be a new beginning when you're kind of in that in-between phase, waiting for new beginnings or waiting for things to happen, it can feel really scary. So sometimes what we'll want to do is go back to old patterns and old behaviors, because although the change might be necessary, it might be hard for us to allow it to happen if we're afraid of what might come next. So I feel like that's what that don't let your past hold you back card was all about. So what does Pisces need to know right now, where they're at in their current energy? Hold your vision. With bring love into the situation, then you have a win-win outcome is forecast here. So whatever you're desiring here, whether it's the love that you desire, the financial freedom that you desire, whatever the case might be, the universe is saying, hold on to these things that you desire. Like, don't give up on them yet, especially if there were, certain paths that came to an end that you felt were progressing toward some sort of outcome or vision that you had in mind. And it feels as if those are no longer like plausible routes. I feel like this is the universe saying, don't let go of the vision. Believe that things are just moving a different way than you expected. This bring love into the situation is definitely a need to give yourself a lot of grace, because I feel like, and this can go for really anyone in any situation, but I do feel like based on where you're at now, feeling like you're in the unknown, you might be kind of feeling like you failed or feeling like you've done things wrong that have kept you from being able to be happy or abundant or loved or free in some way. And though, sure, it is important to recognize, the ways that we can improve and the ways that we can show up better. But I also feel like there's this balance that's needed here where you're needing to be a little bit gentler with yourself, a little bit kinder to yourself, because although everyone makes mistakes, okay? Everyone makes mistakes, everyone can improve. And the more that you focus on that, sure, the more that you're going to grow, but growth comes through the lens of grace and love, not through the lens of self-hatred and blame, because that won't get you anywhere. That'll just kind of keep you stuck, and self-sabotaging cycles. So I feel like giving yourself grace for mistakes you may have made or for things that you weren't perfect in. I can certainly relate to the belief that if I'm not being perfect, then I'm, a horrible human. So don't let that belief slip in, because it can certainly trick you into believing that you're not supposed to or not allowed to make mistakes, when you literally are here to make mistakes, to learn from them, to grow from them. And the mistakes that you have made, or the things that you feel you did wrong, are not keeping you from the results that you desire. Maybe sure, in a certain path there were things you could have done better, but just because you things didn't work out in that path doesn't mean that there's not still a path available for you with this Hold Your Vision card. So what does Pisces need to know moving forward? What can Pisces expect in 2025? Look at the bigger picture. Starting to see the bigger picture. So this is kind of this understanding of like why certain things had to come to an end, or why they had to play out the way that they did, because there were adjustments that are required. So I feel like, yeah. And then that's what leads you to this win-win outcome, because I'm seeing this again, which we saw in your current energy. So it's almost like some sort of outcome that occurs. It's almost like it makes you look back and go, I get it. That's why that had to happen that way, or that's why things unfolded that way, or that's why that had to end. And oftentimes it's so something better can take its place, so that you can move toward or away from things that aren't meant for you and toward things that are. So I really, really feel like you have some good to expect this year. And I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised with how things play out. But the important thing here is not to allow yourself to go backwards, which is really easy to do when you're in the unknown. But let's just keep going. Let's look at this overall theme for this reading. My sleeves are so long and I'm trying so hard not to knock these crystals over. Okay. Oh, this is my affirmation deck. When I was intuitively picking cards to do this round of readings, I was super drawn to this deck, and I've liked its role in these readings so far, but it is an affirmation deck, which is a little bit different than the decks I usually use for overall energy. But let's see what we've got here for you, Pisces. I like that. Okay. Oh, both of these are really good. I'm going to read them both. Okay. It says, I know that every dream in my heart is waiting to bloom. I am ready to grow. And I feel like that's what this has been a period of growth for you. And as you grow, your reality is going to start to meet you at that growth. So your growth will pay off. Sometimes growth happens in some of the harder ways, through losses or difficult cycles, things of that nature, but it always pays off in the end, as long as we are willing to take the approach of, I'm willing to grow. And then you have, I know that focusing my attention on things I cannot control distracts me from my journey. I am letting go. I will say this is probably something that most people, myself included, struggle the most with when it comes to any kind of journey, but in particular, kind of a spiritual journey or a growth journey, is not focusing on what is out of your control. And I think that specifically if it's kind of there are losses or cycles that kind of ended, especially if you didn't really want them to, it can be really hard to let go. But the more that we let go and allow ourselves to be moved toward whatever the universe has in store for us with this faith and hope that things are going to even be better than we expected, the easier it is for us to kind of wade through those periods where things feel a little bit difficult or just in general out of our control. So let's dive into the story a little bit more here. Let's start with looking at this 2024 energy. What were you guys dealing with in 2024? With every ending comes a new beginning. It is like when one door shuts, another opens, and if you can't find the door, there will be find the cracked window or something like that. There's always an opportunity for things to improve as long as we're willing to find them. All right, let's see, Pisces. Don't let your past hold you back. With conclusions are within reach here. The Two of Cups in reverse. So separation of some sort, separation of you from something that once held a very important place in your life. And I don't necessarily, it doesn't just need to be a person. It could be like it could be a job, it could be a career path, it could be you, even like a separation from an old version of you. But I feel like this is giving you a lot of space to show up with this High Priestess here as a higher version of you, which is ultimately going to lead to better experiences here. You do have this King of Swords, which is one of my favorite cards in tarot because it talks a lot about equanimity, you know, showing up and moving forward despite the odds, despite the challenges, almost like failure not being an option kind of mentality. Like no matter what, I'm going to make it through. No matter what, you know, I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to keep on going. And I really feel like this is the mentality that you took on, and I think you have, and that's why I feel like you're needing to give yourself a lot of grace, is because even if you feel like, well, there are a lot of ways I wish I would have handled this differently, I feel like you've been handling this in the best way that you know how, or you've been showing up in the best way that you know how. And I think that, you know, anybody going through difficult like challenges or difficult transitions, there's gonna be emotions that you're not gonna feel totally in control of, you know. So it's not about being perfect. It's about doing the best you can. And I feel like you've really tried to approach this from a place of growth. And I think that that is so, that's very much to be commended, because I feel like a lot of people don't. A lot of people will allow themselves to fall back into old patterns or old cycles because it's always easier to do that than to grow and change. And if you take the approach of a willingness to grow, to show up better, to move toward your highest good, I feel like that's what this is saying, like you're going to get there. And when you get there, you're going to look back and you're going to say, I get why that had to happen, because I had to grow. I had to heal in some way. That evolution that I received from this experience is what brought me here. Like that's what this really feels like. So I'm excited for you guys. First of all, I'm really proud of you guys. I feel like I'm speaking to just a collective that has really been trying their best to handle things in the best way possible, but like almost like pushing you to your limit in certain ways. And that is what I feel like this King of Swords is really about, is like experiencing so much turbulence, but trying to stay grounded, trying to handle things, you know, from a place of love and compassion. And it's interesting because I feel like you've been very loving and very compassionate for everybody involved, but maybe lacking a little bit for yourself here. So turning that love and that compassion lens towards yourself is going to be really important. All right, current energy for Pisces: bring love into the situation, withhold your vision. I still get the words pleasantly surprised keep coming into mind. The Moon, yeah. And I kind of got this feeling that you were in the dark a little bit. Now, what that could really mean is like the future seems really dark. I feel like because there's the Six of Cups in reverse. I feel like you've been released from what is familiar, or like you've been forced to step away from what is familiar for you, whether it's familiar patterns, familiar routines, familiar people. And that's going to create a lot of fear and just room for fear in general. And that's completely normal and completely natural. You know, having faith that the universe has your back isn't about the complete absence of fear. It's about moving forward with that belief in action, despite the feelings associated, despite the feelings of, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how this is going to end up. I don't know where I'm going. And to be honest with you, I don't feel like you're supposed to right now. But then you have this Four of Wands with the Nine of Pentacles. And I really like this because I feel like this is the universe's way of saying you are creating, whether or not you're fully aware of it, there is a foundation for your wish fulfillment being created through the growth that you're experiencing through this period. And it does feel like a transition period. And the more that you are willing to embrace that growth, the more that you are going to see things turn out in your favor. The more you're willing to embrace the growth, the more you will be pleasantly surprised. And I think that that's going to go, I mean, I will say like that can be a message that can apply to anybody, not just obviously you Pisces, but the more that especially when we're going through the periods where we feel really in the dark and everything's unknown, the way that we typically handle those periods is where our reality is created. So if in those moments we let our fear take over and we fall back to old patterns or old behaviors or old cycles, a lot of times what that can mean is it kind of just starts all over again, and we'll often find ourselves right back in the very same place. But if we're willing to say, okay, I don't want to repeat that, obviously I want to find success, or I want to find freedom, or I want to find the love that's sustainable, whatever it is. So therefore, looking at it from this place of, so what can I do to create that? How can I grow? How can I expand? How can I see things differently? And I do feel like I'm speaking to a collective that's trying to do that. And I think that you're going to watch that pay off, because you have hold your vision. But also understand that you're needing to give yourself a little bit of grace right now, because you are going through a really difficult period. I know that I've said that a lot, but it is necessary. All right, what does Pisces need to know moving forward? Whoa, just dropped a chunk of cards here. So this is what Pisces needs to know and expect in 2025. I didn't feel like those are supposed to come out. A lot of times, if cards fall out, I can either feel if it was like intentional or not, and that didn't feel intentional. What does Pisces need to know moving forward into 2025? Oh, I love that. So it's a Three of Swords, but bear with me, because this isn't like the expectation. Because then, yeah, there's the Star, and there's the Seven of Wands, and there's the Emperor. I like this, because I feel like you've been moving through a lot of pain and a lot of heartbreak. Yeah, and there it is. So these messages right here, these cards with the Three of Swords and the Star with the Seven of Wands, this to me gives like payoff of healing, or payoff of growth, or finding the other side of something, the other side of a transition, the other side of a cycle, the other side of pain, of darkness, of fear. And I think that that's one of the things that I've learned a lot, is that the only way through it is through it, right? The only way through pain and through heartbreak and through difficult periods in our life is to get through it, and to get through it without giving up on ourselves or the belief that the universe has our back. And that's the hardest part, right? Is to not give up. A lot of times we want to, because it's like, this is just too heavy, it's too much to bear. And it becomes easier to just kind of surrender to old, not surrender in a good way, but surrender to old patterns and behaviors. And I feel like this is very much the universe saying, if you're willing to move through this without allowing kind of that self-sabotage to creep in, or, for you to take steps backwards here, which I will say, if you do take steps backwards, that's absolutely okay. Every step backwards is going to eventually lead to another step forward. So this isn't saying like, if you don't do this, then you're never going to experience the things that you desire, because that's not realistic. The things that are meant for us will always be possible for us. But there are, certain adjustments that we might need to make within us to attract these things into our life. And I feel like this is a period of the opportunity allowing you to kind of like adjusting your approach to your relationships, or adjusting your approach to your career, or your financial situation, or whatever it is, essentially coming from a higher level perspective kind of place with that look at the bigger picture. And I feel like, because then you have this Empress with the Ace of, or I said Empress, but it's the Emperor. I don't know why I said Empress, but you have the Emperor with the Ace of Cups, which is all about really standing in a very, very powerful energy, a very like taking my life back kind of energy. And that I feel like leads you to new opportunities here, to very aligned opportunities. The Ace of Cups to me often represents kind of aligned opportunities. So I think that you have a lot to, and this is giving this energy of like, this, you will be pleasantly surprised with how this turns out. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on the things that you desire. You might desire love, but it didn't work with that one person. So maybe there's a person out there that's better for you. And at the end of the day, you're not really going to care as long as you receive the love that you're looking for, right? Same kind of thing can go for a job or career or success of any sort. Just because things didn't pan out the way that you expected or wanted them to doesn't mean they're not working out. It just means that things, maybe you were needing to grow in some way, or it was needing to be a different time or something of that nature for things to play out. So as long as you're willing to move forward with this growth mentality, I do think that things are going to work out better than you think. So good news for Pisces for this upcoming year. All right, we're going to hop on over to the extended. In this extended, we'll be looking at what you need to do right now in order to move forward in alignment with your higher self. So more kind of focusing on tangible advice. Any information for that is in the description box below. Thank you so much, Pisces, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Pisces.